Hey guys, what's going on? So, I decided to go ahead and start a YouTube channel and try to just put out some book reviews every time I read a book. I read a lot, so hopefully I'll have a lot of videos. Um, so recently my girlfriend and I have started taking turns picking book series to read with each other. And hopefully we'll be able to introduce each other to things that we all like. And so I got the idea for this channel recently, and I decided I'll go ahead and start with the first book I read, which unfortunately is this one. I'll start off with just a brief summary of it, and then I'll tell you what I thought of it. So it starts off with a girl. She moves to a town called Forks, Washington, because her mom travels a lot with her stepdad, who is like a semi-pro baseball player. And it's hard on her mom, so she decides she's going to move in with her dad and, make things easier on her mom. So she goes to Forks, Washington. It's way different. It rains all the time. She doesn't really like it. And she starts going to school. She makes some friends. And she's these strange people who eat lunch by themselves, who don't really associate with other people. They miss a lot of school. And so on her first day, she goes into her biology class, and she sits next to the character who is Edward Cullen. And he's acting real strange, like he can't stand her, like he cannot stand to be around her. Well, after that he misses a few days of school, and it bothers her the whole time. Why is he acting this way? Why? I mean, what did I do? I couldn't have done anything. I was just sitting there. And so he misses a couple days, and he gets back to school, and he starts acting more normal around her. Well, some time passes, and it's snowy out, and she's driving to school, and she makes it to school just fine, but somebody's driving a little crazy in the parking lot, and his van loses control and nearly squishes Bella. Well, Edward comes out of nowhere. She saw him standing across the parking lot, but he comes out of nowhere and pushes her out of the way and stops the van with his bare hands. And she sees this. She's like, how could he have possibly done this? So after this, they become a lot closer, and they start spending time together, and they start getting to know each other. She notices all these little things about him, like his skin's cold, and his eyes change color, and he misses a lot of school, and he never goes around in the sun, and just a bunch of little things like that. And so she decides she's going to go to the beach with a bunch of her friends, and she invites Edward, to come with her friends. He says, oh, he can't go, but it's only because of where they're going. It's an Indian reservation. And so, as they go to the beach, she's sitting there talking with her friends, and some kids from the reservation come down and talk with them. And a boy named Jacob Black comes and starts talking to Bella, and she kind of flirts with him a little bit to get her to tell her what she wants. And she asks about the Cullens. And so he tells this strange story about the Cold Ones, and how they're vampires, and how they are good vampires. They don't eat humans. They subsist on animals and stuff instead. And how they've formed kind of a pact to where you don't mess with us, we won't mess with you. And so they're not allowed on the reservation. And as long as they continue not hurting people, it'll be fine. And so she's already had kind of a strange feeling about him before. She knew he wasn't human. She just didn't know what he was. And so she goes home that night and starts researching vampires and stuff. She can't quite get it figured out. So eventually they start to date, and as they get to know each other, she finds out for sure, yes, he is a vampire. He saves her from some other situations. And eventually she gets to meet his family. And his family they're all vampires, and they've all were changed to vampires slightly just right before they died. And so she gets to know him, and and they invite her later that night to come play baseball with them, or to watch them play baseball. They can only play when it's thundering and the storm's coming. So she agrees, and she comes back later that night and to watch them play. And they can only play when it's thundering because they're all super strong and super fast, and when they hit the ball, it sounds like thunder going off. That evening, while they're playing baseball, it's midway through, some other vampires are in the area, and they come because they hear the sounds of baseball being played, and they assume that there are other vampires there. Well, the vampires smell Bella, and they realize she's not a vampire, and so immediately the leader of the group thinks this would make a nice challenge. I could try to wrestle this human away from all these vampires. That would make a nice hunt. And so immediately they extract themselves from the situation, and they take Bella, and they're like, come on, Bella, you gotta go back to Phoenix and stay with your mom. And so she runs home, and she tells her dad, oh, I'm leaving, I hate forks, and she heads back home. Well, when she does, a couple of the vampires go with her to help protect her, while Edward and Carlisle, which is kind of Edward's father, they are going to hunt this guy who's hunting Bella, and they're going to have to kill this other vampire before he gets to Bella. Actually take Bella back to Phoenix. Bella calls her mom, hey, don't come home. Some stuff's happening, but don't go home. And she leaves her phone number. Well, she gets a call back a little later, and it's her mom saying, Bella, Bella! And then a guy talking on the phone saying, go to your house. Don't let anybody know you're on the phone. I have your mother. If you don't come, I'll kill her. And so she has to find a way to escape from the vampires that are guarding her. And so she decides that they're headed to the airport, and they're going to leave. She escapes the vampires by running through the bathroom at the airport and leaving them behind. She gets in a taxi, hurries to her mom's house, and she finds that there's a letter, and she has to go to this dance studio. And when she gets there, she finds out that it was just like a home video that he played, and it was a ruse to trap her. So she's stuck in this dance studio with this vampire, and the vampire starts like beating her up and biting her and tearing her apart. Well, about that time, Edward comes in and saves her. She ends up in the hospital. She got bit. Edward had to like suck all the toxin out of her and stuff. And then it ends, and she's better. She's in the hospital. She decides to stand forks, and her and Edward go to prom together. That is the end of that story. And I had a few problems with it. I mean, aside, all joking about the sparkly vampires aside and all that stuff, it was weird. It was, to me, the characters weren't in love. They were obsessed with each other. And that's not healthy. That doesn't make a good story. That's just weird. I didn't care for just about anything in the story. None of the characters were likable. I mean, I didn't really feel for Bella. I was never scared for Bella's safety. I didn't care about Edward. I thought the vampires were weird. Because, I mean, let's think about it. If you're a vampire, you're not gonna, and you don't want to hurt people, you're not gonna try to live among them. You're going to try to stay far away from them, not go to high school, and spend time with a bunch of little kids. If you're a vampire who's like 115 or whatever he was, you're not gonna want to go back to high school forever just to try to blend in. That's not how it works. You would move away from people. And, if you really loved the girl, he wouldn't go around her and keep her, keep putting her in danger like he was. He would stay away from her. And Bella, if you find out your boyfriend's a vampire, you probably wouldn't react the way she reacted, which was, oh, he's a vampire? That's totally fine. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And that's not at all how someone would react to finding out that their significant other was a vampire. Um, it seemed to me kind of like a childish fantasy that she just wanted to write, and that's fine. But I don't understand how the series is quite so popular. I mean, I realize I'm getting into it awfully late, but you know, it's not worth the time, in my opinion. I mean, if the characters were a little more likable, I could see the story. Um, but frankly, the whole book was Bella saying, "Oh, Edward's so dreamy," and Edward being like, "But I love you." There could have been a cool story had it been written a little better, but I think most of this book's flaws come from the writer just wanting to tell this story and not really knowing how. With all of its flaws and everything, I personally will never read it again. I'll never continue on with the series. Um, I don't see how they can continue for 3 more books. Wasn't really my style of book. Wasn't really my speed, but I can. I mean, I understand the draw from other people's point of view, but for me, it wasn't really worth reading. If you're into kind of a different look at vampires and, you know, maybe seeing them as not quite the monsters that they are, or you're just in for a little teenage love story or something, then this book would be for you. Me, I felt like I was kind of just slogging through it. I wasn't enjoying anything about it. None of the characters were likable enough for me to want to continue on with the story. But obviously, it did well. People read it all the time. I'm coming to the party late, but so I mean, good for you, Stephenie Meyer. But I could not recommend this book. If you do want to read it, I have a link to it down in the description. You can get it from Amazon. I read it on Kindle personally. I liked it a lot. The Kindle version, not the book. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to watch my book review. Hopefully as I go on, it'll polish up a little more. This is my first one, just kind of on the fly doing it. Hope it was at least enjoyable. Let me know what you think down in the comments. See you next time.